Good afternoon, folks. How you doing? Or good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are across the world. My name's Ryan Gallagher from Pod 67. We are here for a Celtic State of Mind Quadruple Treble Charity Weekender. We are raising money for 4 great charities this weekend. 12 hours across 2 days, raising money for Rock Talk, which you've just seen there, the Food Fact Friends Food Bank, Children's First, which is Scotland's national children's charity. My mate Gary works for them. He's a fundraiser. They do some great work across there as well. And Help for the Homeless as well. So the full details are on the Celtic State of Mind Twitter account, including the GoFundMe pages. Links will be below here somewhere as well. If you can give a little, I know times are tough for everybody, a little goes a long way these days. So I'll get into our show. Thank you very much to the guys from the Huddle Breakdown beforehand. Like I said, we are Pod 67. We do a weekly show just basically talking rubbish about Celtic, reviewing games, talking everything that's happening, the big talking points. And I'm joined by my 2 trusty colleagues here. So we'll go round the table first. Scott Sutherland, how you doing, Scott?
Hi, I'm good, mate. Quite nervous for this, actually. I can teach in front of a classroom in front of 30 kids every single day, but I put me in a podcast live without editing. It's quite nerve-wracking, but good. Got the haircut for the day. Usually we'd have a night out, obviously, the boys, but we're on for a podcast, so obviously raising a lot of good money, and who knows, after it we might double our listeners from 2 to 4.
Exactly. And also joined by our other colleague, Mr. Tony Doyle. All right, Tony? Oh, Tony's got his thing on mute. You can tell unmute your mic, Tony. He's rubbish. He's absolutely rubbish. Anyway, we'll get back to Tony in a second, Scott, because he's having a bit of a howler, isn't he? There.
Now you notice how our podcasts need to be edited a lot because of Tony.
Spot the beak one. Look at him. He just keeps going. No, we can't hear you, Tony. We cannot hear a word you're saying. Listen, Tony is the guy that is currently on his phone. It speaks volumes, to be fair, for this podcast. Tony's the guy currently on his phone because he lives in 1995 and doesn't have a laptop like the rest of us to do things normal. So I can see Paul John is currently talking Tony through getting onto this. So I'll give a wee rundown of what we do. So we're on Twitter at pod_1967. You can get us on there, join in the conversation. We put out a few polls every now and then. We'll kind of put out questions to the fans and see what they can come up with as well. We're going to talk today about the Scottish Cup finals that we've had. So we're obviously going for the quadruple treble tomorrow, Scott. I see Tony's just dropped away there just now. We're going for the quadruple treble tomorrow. So what we're going to do is go through the 3 that we've had already and the kind of the treble. Tony, can you hear us? Are you? No, I can't hear us. He's having a howler. He's having an absolute howler. While he gets that sorted, mate, we'll talk about these games. We'll start. So quadruple treble. We've obviously done the treble. This is, I keep going to say last year. It's not last year, is it? It's 2 seasons ago. That was this quadruple treble would have been in May this year, which would have been last season. We'll start off with the first one, Scott. It was the Invincible Treble. Brendan Rodgers was the manager at the time. It was one of these times we were going for, people spoke about going invincible quite early on in the season because of how well we were playing. We'd won, obviously, the League Cup and we were on to win the league. And we were just kind of, this one was coming up and it was almost kind of inevitable that we were going to win the treble. But as the time got nearer, I think the nerves started to take over for folk, didn't it?
Because obviously that season I remember it. I remember first with the start when we were in the stadium and when Brendan Rodgers was appointed pre-match and in 2016, and obviously everyone chanting his name and obviously what's happened to him now that he's a rat and we all know that. But I remember actually being at T in the Park and just thinking, what if this doesn't work out? Like, what if he doesn't end up working out. And obviously, as the season progressed, it got better and better, and we just kind of kept going on this run. And then I remember 2 days before it, being at the Lisbon thing for the 50-year anniversary at Hydro, and that was a great night out. But you still had the kind of nerves in the back of your head of that Aberdeen game, like there's one game here to go left to do it. I remember actually working in the morning of that game, which was probably good for me because I kind of managed to take my mind off it. And going to the game with Tony boy, he actually made the train for once, so he was reliable that time. And we went there, and I remember it just teeming down with rain, like absolutely pelting, and I didn't even have a jacket on. We'd been soaked through getting into the ground, and it was some sight just to see obviously 25,000 Celtic fans there. But that wasn't an enjoyable game actually. Really, we'll come on to probably talk about the double treble. That was a bit more enjoyable to actually enjoy as a game, but that game was just obviously fraught with nerves. What about yourself?
I think I was different because when this game came around, I've told you it's just sorry, but I'll tell everybody else. We were. You two were at the game. I was actually in Dublin at this time. I was going to see Guns N' Roses playing. I can't remember the Slane Castle, I think it was. So I was across in Dublin for this day, and I was gutted. I was gutted I wasn't going to make the game. So I was with my mate, who by chance is a Rangers fan. We went to a pub because we thought we'd get some time beforehand. We can go watch most of the game, and I'll try and get maybe the end of it on my phone because we had to get a bus up to Slane Castle was. So I'm on this bus. So we're in the pub. Obviously, Aberdeen score. He celebrates. We score. I celebrate back. Then I have to leave, and I'm on this bus trying to watch this game. And you've probably not been to Slane Castle. It's pretty much a 40-minute bus journey away from Dublin. We get stuck in traffic in the middle of these fields. My signal was going on my phone. I was kept refreshing the page. I couldn't get it. I think maybe about the kind of 75th minute, I lost all signal. I had no connection to the game at all. I get absolutely nothing. I was getting it on. It was showing me like the last thing that I seen on it. I'm thinking, I'm not going to see the end of this until I get here, and I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm asking people on the bus, then they get a good signal. Nobody had it. Guns N' Roses, it was all Falagoths, right, on this on this thing. Right, so I'm like, anybody get a Celtic game? I'm like, what? No. So I'm like, right, okay. So I kept trying. And then by chance, mate, I kid you not, my phone got a signal. I get 4G popped up in the corner. I hit the game. It came on my phone. And literally the first thing that I seen was Tom Rogic striking that ball with his right foot as it just went past Joe Lewis into the goal, and Tom Rogic ran away in the pissing rain, and I just went absolutely berserk on this bus. Like I say, Falagoths, right? People looking at me. I'm like, yes! This guy came running down the stairs, right? Because it was a double-decker bus, right? He came sprinting down the stairs. I heard him running the length, came right down the stairs, and he just stood at the bottom, looked at me and went, have we done it? And I was like, we've done it, mate, yes. The two is we're on this bus jumping about, nearly greeting at the fact we'd done it. It was tremendous. It was probably the next best memory I could have had from actually being there. I can hear background noise. Tony, are you there? Can you hear us?
I have no idea.
There he is.
This is what your own Tom Rogic moment, isn't it?
I'm a fucking Luddite. I'm so sorry. Just do not go. But we're here now. So, like I was saying, hi, how you doing? Welcome to the group. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Welcome to the group. It's like a Celtic Anonymous.
Right.
What have I missed? We were just talking, Tony, about the three cup finals that we had. So we started off with the Invincible Treble. Scott's gave his view on it. I've gave my story as well. What was your kind of views?
I'm going to nip in. Sorry, I've stole Tony's limelight there. I do that quite a lot to you, don't I, Tony? Sorry about that.
Just a wee bit.
Just on the actual game itself, I remember it starting, and then Griffiths loses his man for the first goal, and Johnny Hayes obviously ended up signing for us, and he puts it in, and I'm thinking, oh no, this season was too good to be true. It's obviously come crashing down, and I think it summed up Celtic the way we reacted. I mean, it wasn't even a minute straight for kick-off. Armstrong won each, but it was quite frantic. I thought the rest of the game, Aberdeen had a few chances towards the end of the first half. Scott Sinclair actually probably had one of his worst games in a Celtic jersey. He couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. I remember that. Boyata had a header for a corner. I even remember the one at the other end where Johnny Hayes played the cutback for Kenny McLean, I think it was, and the ball was just behind him, and McGregor gave the ball away. And when they were running down, I thought this is going to be it. That didn't quite fall. And then the more chances we had. And I think, as you've obviously had your own memories of that Rogic goal, but yeah, I just remember it. I'm getting the ball and picking it up and thinking, I just had a feeling that this is it. I felt like the goal was starting to come. And then as he obviously puts it in, I can just remember going absolutely crazy, because me and Tony will probably talk about the story of us trying to get tickets for the game, and we ended up being separated. So I was away up in the Gods at Hampden, and I remember that going in. I just remember bawling my eyes out, like in proper tears. And there was 20,000 others also in tears. It was just an amazing moment.
Well, it's funny you talk about the kind of stress you had for the game. Obviously, I've just given you my Dublin story. I missed most of the second half, so I didn't have that stress. You know, all I had was a good memory right at the very end. I didn't have to sit through. I did need to sit through the last chance where Aberdeen nearly scored right at the very, very end of the game to equalise when the ball got lofted forward. You just thought the story was getting wrote. Tony, what was your memory of this game? Obviously, me and Scott have kind of covered the performance. Have you got anything for this game that really stands out, kind of moment-wise?
See, Ross, actually getting to Hampden itself, I just remember being absolutely soaked through. Every layer of clothing I had was just fucking came out of two-hour washing machine. It was disgusting. Phone was knackered, wallet was knackered, I was knackered. But like Scott was saying, we were sitting separate for the whole game. I remember being actually above the Aberdeen sort of fans at the sort of layer corner at the stadium. I remember when that goal and the Tom Rogic, the lightning strike hit, and honest to God, the guy next to me just grabbed me like a big massive bear hug, like I wanted all my family to hug me all my life, and my dad, but they loved me that much. Is this guy loved me for that 1 minute in my life? But that was probably the most iconic goal I've ever seen in a Celtic top. Like, that was the first treble I could really feel and appreciate after Martin Hill, and that day itself was just unbelievable. It was written in the gods.
Scott, doing an Invincible Treble, actually doing a treble, which we've seen from Rangers this season, having their best chance at a treble in however many years, and they couldn't do it. I seen an article, I think it was in Daily Record, somebody put an article out saying, you know, it just proves that winning a treble isn't as easy as Celtic made it look. This season in particular, we did make it look particularly easy to do a treble, didn't we? In fact, we went invincible.
Oh yeah, it was outstanding. Like, and I think the cup record that we ran on, I think 35 games or whatever the record was, and there hasn't actually been that many moments of nervousness in all those cup runs. We kind of went through quite a lot of them. There was none where we kind of come back from the total brink. We had a few kind of last minute winners. I remember Dembele's and that. But
this game itself could have easily been 5 each. Watching the chances back today, I think had about 4 or 5 sitters that could have scored themselves as well. It was one of the most tense games in an Invincible season, except for possibly the one at Fir Park against Motherwell. Also, they were 2-0 at half time. And we're looking at the team going, you just need to come back here and win this. We can't keep beating off Motherwell.
Was that a 4-3 game, aye?
4-3, aye. Was it 2-0 at half time, they were playing?
I think so, aye. Aye, it's like we say, it wasn't the most kind of stressful season as much as you would expect it to be, but I think because of the state Rangers were in at this point, obviously we can talk about the games that we had as well. Oh, that's another question I was going to ask you actually beforehand, before we kind of move on to the Motherwell game afterwards, because we'll try and kind of power through these. In the 9 seasons, boys, this is because Tony threw me off, we disappearing there. In the 9 seasons, Tony, I'll start with you. What would you say was probably one of your highlights of the 9 in a row run?
Honestly, there's absolute thousands. And
if I had to pin you down and get one off you, what would you pick?
It'd need to be top of my head. 5-1 day at Ibrox, Lucy's last minute goal. Well, not last minute, but the 5th goal. Even before that, the Kenny Miller goal. The fact that Celtic fans themselves cheered louder than Rangers fans, and the music came across the timeline like, this is the best day ever. They're not celebrating, we're going to have or not, ironically cheering. But,
still cannot believe they played goal music for that. That's embarrassing, isn't it?
It's hilarious, and the fact that me and Scott ourselves got on telly for the second goal, I think it was, we got on telly for, so it was brilliant. But Lucy's goal for me, that run when he gets the ball, it just slots the ball calmly past McGregor, isn't it?
Probably.
And then just lifts his top, runs in the crowd, that stuff. Same donkey, whatever, doesn't matter.
Same one. Scott, I'll ask you the same question to you. If you had to pick a memory from the 9 seasons, what would you go with?
What I would say first of all is, obviously we're talking about memories, and this maybe feels like a bit of an end of the era, but with the breaking out of Ismail Assoro, I mean, the biggest memory is going to be that guy coming into the team for the 10-0 season. So I'll add that in. But for 9-0, I would be similar to Tony, but I would say the following season, with the odds on Edward in the 3-2 game, we were also at that game again. Probably pretty much exact same seats, weirdly, that we're in again, like right down in the first row. Row 8 at Ibrox we were. I mean, great memories for being there. And obviously, they threw their toys at the pram. And Dave King stopped us kind of going back to the games. And obviously, nobody can get to games right now. Hopefully, that will come back at one stage. But being in that game at Ibrox, you never kind of know what it's like. See the feeling when Rangers score. It's absolutely horrible that you see these three stands of them bouncing up and down. And you could tell that they thought this was it. This was their moment. This was their chance to finally come back. It was when, especially when it went 2 each and Yozo got sent off. And obviously, we've had a drop off this season, but I think, and with the way Rodgers just changed his team around and Yozo sent off, brought that extra striker on, put 2 up, and then Edward, when he just again, similar to the Rogic one, just the way he cuts inside, I kind of thought he's going to do this. I remember looking exactly right behind it with Tony when he put that ball on. It was just like an absolutely amazing feeling. And when you seen that game out, and that would be even better than the 5-1 game for me, because there's nothing quite like kind of going toe-to-toe with them and then thinking it's going to drift away from us, and then it didn't, and then we just ploughed on for there and never really looked back.
I think my best memory of that game, I was sitting in a pub full of old guys watching that game who didn't understand modern day betting. So I was waiting for one Celtic corner to win £75. It was just a wee request I had done, and I was waiting for one Celtic corner, and it was maybe the 75th minute. I said to somebody like, "What do you mean you're just waiting on one corner?" So I'm explaining to all them, do you know when the corner came? 92nd minute. Like, we celebrated the corner like more than we celebrated the goal, because everybody in the pub at this point knew that I was waiting for one corner for like 75 quid or whatever it was. Like,
it's odd waiting for booking in the game going, come on, so just get booked. I want to win 20 quid.
Do you know what it was? I think we had a shot, and I think it was Fotheringham or somebody saved it, and the ball was just trickling out, and Eddie was shielding it until it just trickled out for a corner, and we were all like, watching this ball going out, and eventually the whole pub went mental.
Big man's won 20 quid, yes!
I know.
Shots.
Brilliant, mate. I was like, 3 pints for me and nobody else. So, right, we spoke about that then. I'd probably say one of my highlights would have been the 5-0 game to win the league at Parkhead against Rangers. That would have been a particular highlight for me, just because it got to 60 minutes and you thought, this is going to be an absolute blowout. This could be easily 10 in this game. And it could have been, see if you go back and look at the chances that we had and the missed, it could have easily been 10-11 in this game. But we'll come back to the Scottish Cups, boys. So we spoke about the Invincible Treble and the feeling that was of securing the Invincible Treble. We get into the next season, well, the talk of, we are the best team in the country. Nobody's going to even lay a glove on us this season. And fast forward to end of the season, we're playing Motherwell, Scottish Cup final again, going for the double treble. Tony, I'll start with you on this one. What was your... Actually, no, I'll not, because you kind of fall into your story a little bit. I'll start with Scott.
I don't really want to talk about my story too much.
We'll get on to your story. Aye, as people have probably guessed, we are sharing stories. If you're just tuning in today, we are sharing our stories from these games, because we can talk about the games in detail if we can, but everybody kind of knows how they went. We're kind of giving a wee bit of our day on this. So Scott, I'll start with you. We were together quite early for this one. Went for a wee bite to eat, and then we went to a popular Irish bar in Glasgow for the build up to this one. What do you remember for the build up?
I remember we went to Malone's before it, and then it was St Vincent's after it, showing us really off to be the Celtic Spice Boys here, aren't we, really? Going to the pubs. But, I remember it before it, getting a breakfast and then being in there for 11 o'clock queuing outside. I remember it, sharp contrast the year before, it was a roasting hot day, man, 20, 25 degrees or whatever outside, Celtic talks on. It was kind of more a upbeat mood, I think there was less nerves, especially on my part, I think, going into this game. Obviously, there's cup games, anything can happen. There's a wee doubt in the back of your mind, but kind of felt confident pre-match, and then I drank the Malones. I'll let Tony explain his story of the day, but I'll go for my story, where we ended up just going to the game, and actual memories of the game are a bit hazy just because of the amount of bevy that was drank, but this was really a good one to enjoy, because McGregor...
Scott, it wasn't the bevy, mate. It was the sun that done it to you. It was the sunstroke that you had that makes your memory hazy. It wasn't the bevy.
I've used that excuse a few times, like translate and stuff. But the McGregor's first goal, that's a really, really underrated goal. That first one, the way he takes that, and then when Cham makes it 2-0, at 30 minutes, and then you could just enjoy it. I thought the man of the match for me that day was Moussa Dembele. He didn't score, but probably kind of the last real proper memory we've got of him. Obviously left following that summer, but I thought it was imperious that day. Just bullied the Motherwell defenders, and I just imagine just to enjoy that last 60 minutes, and then obviously the scenes afterwards that most people remember of the open top bus, but not for us, because we decided obviously to just carry on our night and go straight to the pub, which maybe I regret looking back, because I don't know if we'll get into like that open top bus ever again. I missed it.
Well, one person who does regret this, who wasn't with us during the day but met up with us later on, is Mr. Anthony Doyle, who's sitting just below me there on this screen. Tony, we met you in St Vincent's after this game. Right. And then you went missing, mate.
You met a version of me in that pub. It definitely was me. I was absolutely man possessed in the bed all day. The only memory I have of that game is literally being St Vincent's. I don't remember a thing from the moment I woke up and had a fry up. It was 2 bottles of tonic in the way to town, both finished before I got to Brigton. Then I get into town, straight to St Vincent's as you do. My shoes were just stuck to the floor in the one spot, so I didn't get to move much on it, which was quite good because the carpet there's notoriously sticky. But I digress. But the PTSD flashback for me that night was getting kicked out of St Vincent's after dropping a whole tray of Venoms on the floor. And for all the listeners, a Venom in town is about £10 a go for a drink. There's about 5 in this tray. And then also get kicked out of St Vincent's claiming Irish bigotry.
An Irish pub. From a Scottish guy, by the way. From a Scottish guy.
It's because my name's Anthony Stephen Francis Doyle. I'm not taking this stuff. But heading up to the town, thought, do you know what? I'll be a boy. I'll get a wee lift up the road with my mum. She'll take me home, drop me off. Perfect. I got to the Mitchell Library. Next thing I know, I've woke up in the bottom of the steps at the library. I've got back up to my knees like the scene in Shawshank Redemption when he's looking up at the building, greeting the rain. My nose is gushing of blood. I've still got the scar to this day, actually. You can see it in the camera. God. But that was my memory that day. Double treble and a double concussion.
So, great day. But, Scott, this we mentioned it a minute ago, this game obviously kind of following what happens next year as well. Cal McGregor, I think, said after the treble game that this one kind of goes a wee bit unnoticed because it's probably not as glamorous as the two that we've done. And that treble run, obviously, first one being Invincible, last one being a treble. It sounds better, kind of aesthetically. But the game itself, for being kind of relatively underrated, I think you mentioned it yourself. It was a good performance phase in it. It's one of these games that could have easily been a slip up.
Aye, because Motherwell had a good season that year and they were doing well under Stephen Robinson, who's still there now. But you're right, it's a really underrated game because I think you're right, it just doesn't sound right. But the Double Treble was the first team in Scotland to accomplish that achievement, so it was really huge at the time, and it was just the way it fell, just nicely to be kind of sort of 2-0 up. And Motherwell, I don't really actually remember Craig Gordon actually really having a save to make. It was just really comfortable, and that was where you always felt more comfortable. I think we're going to come on and preview the cup final quickly in maybe in the last 10-15 minutes, but we always felt more comfortable under Rodgers that there was a game plan and we were right in control of the game. And as soon as you go 2-0 up, you go, we're no way we're throwing that away. Whereas Lennon now, it's a wee bit of a basketball game at times, and it's kind of a rush of blood. Like, you don't really know what's going to happen anytime we take the pitch. And even tomorrow, you've kind of got your doubts about whether we will win it. I think we will, but there's still an edge. That game, you just feel confident, especially 2-0 up, and we just seen it out, and just a class team. And that was probably the moment it's definitely within the Rodgers run that we peaked. And then obviously Peter Lawwell went and ruined it all when he refused to pay the money for John McGinn, and then it went totally downhill after that.
I'm not even letting you get away with that one because you didn't want John McGinn. Apparently, I'm going out. You just were like, I don't want John McGinn. We should be going by somebody better. Look at him now. Like, absolutely.
To be fair, I didn't want John McGinn because he went to my school and it was just sheer jealousy that I was a myself.
That's what it was. It was total jealousy for you.
It was like, if I can't do it, they can do
it. So, boys, that's us. We've done the double treble. Then we move on to the next season. And you're thinking at the start of the season, can we do a treble? I'm thinking out of them all, a treble is the one that I want because it sounds the best. It just sounds. I hate people that were calling it triple trebles. It just didn't sound right. A treble is what we were going for. We go through this season, got a bit of turmoil halfway through. Brendan Rodgers decides to up sticks and leave. He's away to Leicester, and we bring in Neil Lennon, whose first game back in charge of Celtic is away at Tannadice against Hearts. Scott, we watched this game together. It was. Were you nervous? We'll talk about the Hearts game in the league first, because it was almost like a monkey on Lennon's back at this point. So, like, first game in, he had to get this one over the line, didn't he?
Aye, I would more give John Kennedy. Probably not a popular thing to say. The way you look at Twitter and look at John Kennedy, people freezing their tellies to show me angry.
That's cancelled.
I would give a lot of credit to John Kennedy, actually, more so than Lennon for those two games, because Lennon just kind of came in last minute, and there's obviously this talk of Lennon coming in and steadying ship, and he definitely was the right man at that time, because there wasn't anybody really else, but he did come for an unemployed position. We went wrong at Hibs, but that game, first game at Tynecastle, I kind of always had a feeling. I always get feelings before games, I know I keep saying that, but I had a feeling in this one that we were going to win. It was a sort of siege mentality. You seen the fans didn't actually get a ticket for that game, but it was at Easter Road 3 days later when we won in the cup, and it was sort of that siege mentality of like, right, okay, he's left us, stuff him, we're going to do this. And just the way it fell last minute was sensational through Edward, but kind of summed up the turgidness of the towards the end of that season with Lennon, where there was 3-0 draws. It was really, really scrappy. We kind of stumbled over the line, and that was kind of leading up to the cup final, where you're like, we aren't really playing well enough here going into that.
Tony, we stumble across the line in the league. We get the league done, which was great, and it was a massive relief for us, especially in this pursuit of the 10 at that point. And you thought, are we going to kind of make an arse of this, really? But we get over the line. But the results leading up to this cup final against Hearts, what was your thoughts going up to this? Because we look at the game when Lennon first came in against Hearts, and some would say it was a bit of a struggle, one last minute goal away for a draw. Like, it wasn't the Celtic that had been playing under Brendan Rodgers for a few years. Going into this cup final, though, what was your thoughts? Were you a bit nervous going into this cup final, just at what was at stake at this point?
I think just when Lennon came in, you were seeing sort of games where it was getting to the dying minutes, and it was a case of just get the win somehow, just pull this out the bag somehow. The performance didn't really matter at that point. It was just about steadying shit, what Scott was saying, and getting the 3 points. Even the game against Kilmarnock was seen where Scotland won the league at Kelly Park. It was the last minute goal again that won the game. And that's kind of what I've seen this season as well, where we're getting to this point in games where some killing teams off. But on that cup final itself, I think also the bigger part at Hampden itself, Celtic notoriously under Rodgers was just rampant at Hampden. They were just flying everyone by the side. So I kind of felt we had a lot more going through us at Hampden, going to like the likes of Tynecastle, Kilmarnock, but I thought it'd be absolutely comfortable, and in the end it did prove to be sort of quite convincing as a 2-1.
Scott, talk about the game, because like Tony was saying, it was a wee bit nerve-wracking. You're not really sure what to expect for Celtic at this point. You've got the interim manager, pre-kick-off interim manager. You're kind of thinking, are we going to slip up here and not get this? We go a goal down in this game. At that point, what was your overriding feeling towards this Celtic team and Lennon and this potential treble?
Oh, when we went 1-0 down, you were obviously fearing the worst. I mean, it was kind of symptomatic of a lot of performances that we're getting under Lennon, where first half nothing really happens. You go in at half time and you're not raging because you're not getting dominated, but you're not doing much either. And I felt that at half time, and then start the second half, Hearts get the goal, and you are thinking, right, is our luck finally about to run out? Is this run going to come at the end? And it's just one more game that we needed for this treble. And yeah, at that time you are fearing the worst, but obviously then we get the penalty. Personally, I thought it was a wee bit soft actually, the penalty, but it was given.
Red card.
It was given, and there's no cooler man in the stadium than Odsonne Edouard, and especially I loved his interview afterwards, because it's the first time we'd ever really actually heard Edouard kind of speak. And obviously he's trying to get to grips with the language, and just the way he's like, I had no doubts and I was taking the penalty. I knew I was going to score, and Solal actually nearly gets it. But the way he slots it away, and then at that point you're just thinking, right, come on, just somehow get this done. And it was kind of similar. Wasn't a similar feeling to the first treble, because I don't think we played as well in this game. In fact, it was a really, really turgid performance, if we're being honest. But getting over, obviously, then the second goal, which Edward gets as well, was a great memory for Lustig. He puts the header through, and it was obviously his last game, and there's no man you wanted to fall to than Edward, and when he puts that in the net, and then the last 10 minutes are just amazing, and it's probably one of the best feelings I've had in a stadium for about half an hour until Peter Lovell ruined it when I was at the train station. The announcement he made later.
So we win the game. We do this historic treble, that it was spoken about all season. We had an up and down season, like I say. It could have easily went wrong, but we finally get it over the line. Tony Lustig's ball through to Edward. After that, it's quite calm. Did you, at this point, I know Scott was saying that they basically ruined it half an hour later by announcing Lennon. Did that take the shine off of it for you at that point? Because we know that Lennon wasn't everybody's number one choice, but were you able to kind of see past that for even 24 hours, or did it kind of sour the day for you a little bit?
Absolutely not. Ruined the day entirely for me. After the game, we had that sort of big bus parade tour booked up the sort of through city centre of Glasgow, and the overall sort of feeling round about was just everyone going, I can't believe I appointed him. They've actually ruined this. They couldn't give us one day of happiness, because we knew Lennon was still happy at that point, and the next season itself was successful. Yeah, definitely a great European run. But that year, we just thought, just get us to the end of the season, do us a favour, and we can recruit somebody else in the summer. They give them a fresh idea, because after Brendan Rodgers, the stock is just up there now. We go, well, we don't want to go back down here. We want a top caliber manager. But for me, it was definitely ruined. Peter Lawwell himself changed the actual whole idea of the recruitment policy that day, and on his head be it, because right now we're seeing it this season, it's not doing well enough. But for me, it definitely did ruin it 100%.
We'll go on to talking about this current season as well when we kind of lead up to this sixth game. But after that, Lennon gets his kind of first full season since being back. I say full season, it got curtailed obviously towards the end, but it's the first one that he started since coming back. We don't have the best season. We're not playing the best football. We had the game at Ibrox that we won, which was great. That was kind of out of the ordinary for the games we've been playing that season. Nothing had been very convincing, but we were grinding out results, and it was the whole performance of champions. That's what champions do. They grind out results even when it's not going very well. We get the Betfred Cup final game against Rangers. I think we'll all admit that game we got absolutely battered for the entire game. We snuck the win. Probably should have snuck a 2-0. I don't know how you can sneak a 2-0, but Mikey Johnson's one would have made us sneak a 2-0 victory in this game. But I'll come to you, Scott, with this season, because obviously we've got that one. We have the Scottish Cup final coming up as well at the end of the season, and then it gets curtailed. Rangers had their second downfall after coming back from Dubai in January as well. It was very tight at New Year. They have another downfall when they come back. We kind of push on from there. I think we all kind of knew that the season was probably going to go our favour if it had been, if it hadn't been curtailed and it went to the very end. But was there any kind of fear for you that season, kind of towards the end, that we might be a bit sticky here? We might get stuck coming up for this cup final?
I think actually looking back on the season as a whole, I think the football was actually quite good and quite exciting, especially against the sort of middle road SPFL clubs, and the form actually that we showed from January to March was some of the best football that I've seen Celtic play in my time watching us. And that is where Lennon, I know he's the constant guy that always makes excuses and never actually takes responsibility, but that's where I have got some sort of sympathy with him. With the season being curtailed, then coming back, it kind of halted our momentum at that point. And I do think when we went to that game at Ibrox, we were going to win it just with the form that we were in. But yeah, there was signs in that season, bigger games. I mean, Europe, there was positives in the group stage as a whole, the Lazio games, but there's games like Cluj, Copenhagen, where Neil Lennon's in-game management and just some of the decision he makes, like McGregor at left back, and even seen it this season, Ferencváros, Christie up front. And just day games, as I've said before, turning into basketball games and just no sort of control of it. So that was always a worrying sign, and that was why me and Tony were so disappointed that day of the cup final when they appointed him, because just the big games where we need a coach. We know we think we've got the best players in Scotland, and what we need is a manager in these big games to get us over the line, and that is where we've been lacking. Anytime a team is sort of close to us or just a wee bit below us, we always seem to come up short, and for me that kind of falls onto the manager. But obviously the positives of the season, that we've done the 9 in a row, we got it through, we got the League Cup somehow, and now hopefully tomorrow we'll get through and we'll get this quadruple treble.
Tony, obviously the Scottish Cup then from last season has to be moved into this season to get it finished. We've got the game against Aberdeen to get to the final. Looking at form this season, everybody knows we've been mince this season, right? We've been terrible to watch. We've been terrible. We've been terrible to watch. The performances haven't been very good. We're obviously sitting. I don't know how many points we're behind Rangers. It's 7 best case scenario if we win the games in hand. We're not playing very well. Would you have rather this game came at the end of last season, or do you think it doesn't really matter when we played this game? We're always going to be up for a cup final.
It's quite strange, and also this game's getting played from last season to now. It's a tough one because you really want to see Celtic win this, but it doesn't really affect the season at all because this season's not been good enough. But to get a Scottish Cup win, folk going, we've got a first trophy, but it's last year's trophy getting played now, so it doesn't really make up for the sins of this year. I think if we win on Sunday, all it does is kick the ball down the road a bit further in New Lennon. It will give them to Ibrox, give them that sort of leeway, get the fans off his back. But for me, it is a must win. After Rangers dropping points, getting kicked out of the cup by 7, it's a good confidence boost, and hopefully it gives us the drive we need to actually kick on in the season and give Rangers a bit looking over the shoulder, give them 2 things to think about.
Scott?
Can I just interject with some news right now, because I'm just looking at my phone. Don't want us to
have some
excited.
breaking news.
It's only 40 minutes, but it's 1-0 to Motherwell, Ibrox. So this could be the starter. I've got a wee feeling that things are starting to change. Just noticed it for actually being in a school that I work in, and some of the people are getting really, and the change of us bringing Turnbull and Sorrow in, and we've had a good couple of weeks, and hopefully tomorrow it's going to be a massive confidence booster for us if we can win that cup. What happened to them on Wednesday night? Well, obviously a long way to go in this game, but they're currently 1-0 down heading into half time.
This is what you said in the podcast during the week, that you can see the performances start to return and they will tire themselves out.
Well, that's what I said on. So I said it on our podcast, which we put out this week, in the kind of lead up to obviously this coming up. Where Ibrox, I thought, Celtic winning 2 games in a row for the first time since the start of October. Rangers game against Dundee United, this was kind of in between. But their game against Dundee United wasn't very good. They grinded it out fine. We've said time and time again that champions do that. Champions grind out results, and that's what they were kind of doing against Dundee United. But then they went on to St Mirren midweek, and they get put out of the cup against St Mirren. And now, as Scott's saying, it's 1-0. Like we say, it's 40 minutes gone just now. Motherwell are currently 1-0 up at Ibrox. Callum Lang scored after 6 minutes, so it's quite early on that they've conceded that goal and not really done much by all accounts in the first half. I can see that happening.
Too quick with it, but they do tend to sort of cave in under pressure. They're cruising at the top. That's when they usually do bottle it.
Well,
but for me, I don't see it happen this season. I really don't. But
Scott, what is it you said, Scott, about Rangers? You on the podcast, you said they're due a blip, and I think you said in the group chat as well about them kind of keeping up this momentum.
I think I've just been seeing the last couple of games. I think they are due a blip, and they run like butcher's dogs. Like, see, when I'm watching them, and I think there's no coincidence that they've kind of gassed themselves out come January in the previous 2 seasons, and maybe it's happening a wee bit earlier now. He's got a wee bit of a stronger squad, Gerrard, to call on, but obviously, don't want to talk about too much about them because it's a Celtic podcast at the end of the day. It's more for what we're going to talk about though, kind of towards the end. Tomorrow could be a defining weekend. Obviously, we're not playing in the league, and my worry was, here we go, it's another. My feelings towards the cup final, they've sort of changed in the last couple of days, to be honest, because before I thought it was a distraction, and everything that happened with the protests against the board, and they were like, the only reason they're not sacking Neil Lennon is because they want him to win his treble, so he can be the guy that's done it as a player, done it as a manager. But now it's sort of seemed to be a distraction. I thought, here we go, it's going to be 3 games in hand now, further points behind in the league. I mean, we'll see what happens with this game. But now I'm thinking it could be a real definer for us. It gives the guys like Turnbull, Sorrow, Connor Hazard, guys that haven't won anything with us, just a sort of taste of taste of success, and winning trophies breeds confidence, and it can really hopefully kickstart us, and it could be a massive moment in this, and obviously it's a good chance to mark the quadruple treble, look back on it, but the ramifications for this season, the kick on that we could hopefully get for this game, it could be just huge.
So what are you saying, Scott? Are you saying Peter Lawwell on the board were right to keep Neil Lennon on, and you were wrong?
Absolutely fucking not. No, I mean, if we could have Neil Lennon, I mean, the league would have been down. We've made a 50-50 call here.
I think I made the point before, though, like on our podcast, I've been on record of saying that the league is done for me. This was 3 weeks ago. I said if we turn this round and we win the league this season, I said if we turn this round and I win and we win the league, I said I will eat a hat live on camera. I will take a full hat and I'll munch it. And you know what? I'm actually bricking myself now that I might need to do it, because I'm starting to doubt what I said. You know, I should never do it. I should never commit to something like that so early.
But I want a big fedora or something. Something huge.
A big massive sombrero of that size, mate. It's just trying to munch a sombrero. Right, boys, we'll talk about this game tomorrow. So, quadruple treble against Hearts. We've been talking about kind of players coming in and players not coming in over the last few weeks on our podcast. We were all chomping at the bit to see guys like Turnbull, Sorrow get a chance. I think we were in a group chat a couple of weeks ago when I think we were playing a European game, or it was a league game, and we had 2 goalies on the bench. I think it was a Milan game, and Barkas had let in something with 2 goalies on the bench. And I said to you, chuck in Hazard, just do it, because I want to see him. I think he's going to have the easiest not easiest job, but nobody's going to expect too much of him, which might take the kind of pressure off him a little bit to perform. Barkas come with £5 million kind of price tag to live up to. Scott Bain lost his place, got it back, so he's kind of got a bit of pressure to keep it. Hazard might have been the kind of best option. I'll go with you. Does Hazard, Scott, does he start in this cup final for you?
Yeah, absolutely for me. I think the other 2 goals, when Barkas was originally dropped, I felt it was kind of good for him, because we weren't performing and he was getting no real protection for back 4 and middle to front. I thought it's good that he's sort of been out of the team, and Bain sort of been the fall guy. Bain, he's hopeless as well. He was hopeless, but then Barkas came in. I mean, it's no work for him. He's basically no saved a shot. So, and Hazard,
Barkas
for me, just
couldn't save a Word document, man.
He basically Hazard just looks a bit more commanding. He's 6'6". He just looks he's obviously not had a lot to do in the 2 games previously, but I think with Julian and Duffy, it's a bit more solid in front, and Sorrow, and that has left a bit better protection for the goalie. But I think Barkas looks a bit nervous. He's not very vocal. Even when balls get played over the top, he seems to be stuck on his line for me. And even I'm like, get out your box and just pick the ball up. It just seems dead nervous. And I think if we go with Hazard, we need to just, I've said it before on our podcast, that if we do go with him, we need to stick with him. If we're going to pick this goalie, we can't. If he makes a mistake, then flip it back to Barkas the next game. We need to make a decision, stick with him. I still think we need to recruit a goalie in January, but for now we've got these 3 guys in, and for me, Hazard, start him tomorrow and then stick with him right through.
Tony, do you agree with that? Would you go with Hazard?
Yeah, I think he's both hit the nail on the head, definitely. I think the young boy, he's not really had much to do, but what he's had to do, he's been called upon, and he's been reliable enough. The goal against the team away goal Leo scored, you couldn't actually ask him to do much more than that. It was a great finish from the boy. So, for me, you go Hazard and you see what happens to him. He's a big lumpy boy. He seems to be quite commanding in the box. He's marshalling the defence a little bit as well. So, I have no qualms about it. Put Hazard down and see what he's got.
And Tony, I'll stick with you then for this one. After the game at the weekend, when Turnbull and Sorrow both played quite well in 2 games in a row now, Neil Lennon was asked about whether they've kind of put themselves in contention for this game, and he came out with the classic line, I'll get people in who got us there, reward people who got us there. It was a bit of a kind of sentimentality type thing from him. However, that being said, he was asked about it again this week and did come out and say there's no room for sentimentality. So he's kind of went back on what he said. Do you think that he's going to go with the old guard of Scott Brown for this one? For people who don't listen to our podcast, we've made it very clear that we don't think Scott Brown should be playing every single game. We've been on record by saying that. He has a place in the squad as this kind of leading figure. He's got a place to come on to games, I think, just now, but the guy's 35 and he's keeping somebody like David Turnbull out of the team. I don't know what his Turnbull is off the top of my head, but young guy out of the team. Turnbull and Sorrell get their chance. Tony, do they stick in this team for you?
For me, they definitely stick in that team. I think Sol and Turnbull have been a breath of fresh air in the team. Turnbull's deliveries into the box from corners and set pieces. It's been remarkable difference from Ryan Christie's. I think Ryan Christie is a great player on the day, but he just looks to just hit the ball and see where it lands. But with Turnbull, it's placed on a plate. Even Duffy's goal, the second goal, it was a complete bullet header, and it was just on a plate for him. It's like, get it up, get the net muscles on that Duffy, and it'll be in the back of the net. But I can honestly see Neil Lennon playing Scott Brown tomorrow. I have no doubt in my mind that that's what he's going to do because, well, it's his boy, isn't it?
What about you, Scott? Do you agree? Is he going to go back to Scott Brown, or do you think he's listened? Because obviously he said he's going to go with the players who got him there, and then he somehow has kind of changed his mind through press conferences through the week. Do you think he's going to kind of change his mind with this one and go with the young guys?
I'm maybe being quite naive to say this, but I do think that he's going to go with Sorrow and Turnbull. I just think Neil Lennon, he's under huge pressure in this match. He's still on, even though we've won the last couple of games, still under massive pressure to win this game tomorrow. And if it doesn't go his right way, he'll be under even more pressure. I just think if he picks Scott Brown, he's giving fans a sort of an excuse in a way in terms of we're now calling for Sorrow and Turnbull. You've got to go with these guys. Why the hell would you change a sort of winning team in the last two games? What Neil Lennon says in his press rooms, I try and take with a pinch of salt because he's kind of making it up as he goes along. I think half the time he says one thing, next week contradicts himself. I mean, he says players don't want to be here, and then 2 days later he's saying, "Oh, these guys are brilliant." I mean, so I do view his press conferences, which isn't good for my mental health because it just gets me riled. But try and actually take these things he says with a pinch of salt. I think tomorrow, maybe as I say, naive to say it, but I think he is going to go with Sorrow and Turnbull, and I hope I'm right. And I think whatever team he picks at 1:15, when the teams will come out an hour before kick-off, is going to tell us exactly how this game goes. But on the just the kind of debate about it, I feel sorry for Scott Brown. Don't feel like this is an attack on Scott Brown. People have got Scott Brown's 35 and he's been absolutely amazing for us. But a 35-year-old, same way like Man United with Paul Scholes, like, he didn't play him week in, week out that Lennon seems to do. So I think the fans are kind of on Scott Brown's side in that regard, that it's not fair on him, that's what's been happening. And I say, but on this game, like with Hearts, I think whether we play Scott Brown or not, we should be beating Hearts, and it shouldn't really flip on this decision. But I think the way the game might go will flip on this decision. If we play Sorrow and Turnbull, I expect us to win quite handsomely 2 or 3-0. Play Scott Brown, it could end up being a total slog like games have been all season.
We spoke about the strike force as well on our podcast this week when we kind of had our predictions for this game. Naturally, Scott, me and you went for Odsonne Edouard up front. Tony, you went with a bit of a curveball this week, didn't you?
To be honest with you, I went Klimala up top.
What do you think Klimala's going to... I'm not going to say what he's going to bring because we know what Klimala can do, but why...
Let's get rocking.
Why in a game like this would you throw somebody like Klimala in over somebody like Edouard who's performed? You know, he's performed so much over the years, especially at Hampden. What is it about this game you're thinking, do you know what, no, I'm going to go with Klimala?
Well, to be honest, Edouard this season really hasn't kicked his ass for me at all. The games he's been a part of, he's walking about the park, he's jogging, he's not tracking down his runners, he's not putting pressure on defence. The Klimala, you seen it against, was it Leo he came on? Was he starting against Leo? Aye. Anyway, he was pressing defence, he was making the unselfish run, he was allowing players to get in and around the Fox by just doing that unselfish run, taking him out, dragging the defender with him. For me, Klimala is a no-brainer start. He's the only player that seems to be putting effort in training. He's shaved his head, which I'm all for. Yep, exactly right. But for me, Klimala is definitely the starter. Edouard himself doesn't look really that bothered. I know we have Charlie Nicholas a hard time saying that Edouard doesn't look arse, but this season it just looks like Edouard is just playing just for a move. He doesn't want. He's chucked the toys at the pram. He doesn't want to be here. It looks. But if he looks like Klimala, I want Griffiths in. Simple as that. Scott,
it's a bold call, isn't it, for Tony there to ditch a guy like Odsonne Edouard. I can kind of see where he's coming from, in the sense that Edouard hasn't kicked his arse this season. You know, he's not been on form. Other guys might give us a bit more. For me, and I think you'll probably agree with me when I say this, you don't leave somebody like Edouard out of a big cup final, so.
Oh no, absolutely not. I would definitely still go with Odsonne Edouard tomorrow. I think the COVID thing's probably impacted Edouard as well, which needs to be taken into it. I think he was out for a couple of weeks, and then obviously the follow-up for that in terms of maybe takes him a wee bit while to get up to speed. But I think he's played in flashes this season. I do get what Tony's saying. I think at times he is sort of playing for himself, even in terms of the AC Milan game. Like when Edward gets his wee dink over the goal, he gets his goal. That's his headline. He can then sell that and try and get his move from then. And it is going to come to a point where we are going to sell him, whether it's January, whether it's at the end of the season. But I think these are the headline games, and that Edward, he was a hero for his last time, and I think you've just got to go to him. I think I would try and imagine it from the position of they've got Christoph Berra and is it the guy Halkett at the back, and I'm thinking, right, I'm day two. Who do I want to go up against here? Patrick Klimala. I think Klimala's been good for us. Tony says he's putting a lot of effort, and I think Klimala's still lacking a wee bit of confidence in that final third. He's not scored as many goals as maybe had hoped that he would get, and I think he's a player that could come on in this game. He's kind of gives us options in terms of running in behind, but I'm thinking who do Berra and Halkett want to play. If they see Klimala coming out, they'll be thinking, yes, we're in for a wee bit of an easier ride today. They see Edward, they're going to have the fear for him because what he's done to him last year.
Well, I think in the recent weeks though, Klimala's proven that he's a second choice striker by getting the sub appearances over Ayeti and Griffiths. But you see with Klimala, he gets the run in behind the defenders against St Johnstone. It was a great strike he took. And I think that'd be absolutely deadly in the cup final. I think the bigger part would suit us getting in behind him a lot easier.
I agree with that, Tony. I agree this game probably has got a place for somebody like Klimala. I reckon, like Scott says, he's kind of lacking confidence in that final third of scoring goals, but taking your point as well about his pace, getting in behind people and stuff, I reckon he could probably, give guys like Berra the shitters, to be honest with you, running in behind him and making him backtracking, etc. So no, I would go with Edward personally, but I do agree with you that Klimala has got a part to play in this. I would like to see Griffiths as well, just for the Hearts thing, but that's purely just because it's Griffiths against Hearts in it. That's the only reason. Right, we've got 5 minutes left then, boys, or 4 minutes left now. I'll get predictions from you. So Scott, I'll start with you just now. What's your prediction for this game? How do you see it going?
As I say, I think it all depends on what team he announces before kick-off and how this will go. I'm quite confident, though, that we will do this tomorrow. We think we've had a kick on in confidence the last couple of weeks. We had a full week of training, if Neil Lennon actually does any training.
4 days off. 4 days off.
Probably 4 days off, but hopefully a full week building up to it. Hampden, I mean, it was a place that had horrible memories actually for me. Hampden pre-Rodgers coming in terms of dialing even Lennon's first spell. We used to lose. I've seen us lose to Hearts in that place. But I think tomorrow I'm quietly confident of a 2-0 victory, and I think David Turnbull and probably a player of the season so far, Moy El-Yunusi, will get the goal. That's my prediction.
I forgot to say Sorrow.
No, Sorrow to snap Andy Halliday and get sent off in the 90th minute when the game's done anyway.
That is a cup final for me. That's the trophy right there. That's fine. I'll take that.
That'd be done. Tony, your prediction, go for it. What have you got?
Well, Hearts are playing not too bad so far. Season top of the championship there and came off a good win at the weekend. But for me, I'm going to go 3-0. 3-0. I think it'll be quite a comfortable victory in the end. I really do.
I agree with you, mate. I'm going to go for 3-0 as well. I think it's one of these ones. I think Hearts have got... We need to be careful with Hearts because they've got guys, and I know we talk about it, you've got guys like Naismith, you've got guys like Halliday, guys like Craig Gordon there just now, guys that are out to prove something against us. Not saying for a second that I think that they can or will. I think we should definitely have enough to deal with them, but there's always that kind of wee factor, especially with Celtic this season, that I think that we just need to be careful. Are these guys popping up and catching us out? I think everybody has to have their game heads on. They need to be ready for it at all times. And hopefully we'll be sitting here on Monday morning hungover with a quadruple treble in the bag. So boys, I'll round this off just now. Thank you very much for taking the part to be a part of this. It's a Celtic State of Mind. Paul John Dykes put us together. It's a Quadruple Treble Charity Weekender. Like I said at the start, we're raising money for 4 great charities. We've got Rock Talk, who you'll see a wee video from as well at the start. They use football as a starting point to talk about mental health. The Food Facts, Friends Food Bank. We've got Children's First, which is Scotland's national children's charity, and Help for the Homeless as well. So the full details, they'll be below us on this. If you want to go onto Twitter, our Celtic State of Mind's Twitter account, they've got the links to the GoFundMe page, etc. across there as well. Like I said at the start, give a little, go a long way just now, especially for people that are a bit less fortunate than us. We've been Pod67. Get us on Twitter at pod_1967. We do this every single week. We talk about the games every Sunday, put a podcast out on the Monday, just giving our thoughts on the week for Celtic as well. So, Tony, mate, thank you very much for taking part.
Thanks for having us, guys. God bless.
And Scott, cheers, mate.
Thanks for having us. I'm away to sit in a darkened room, put my phone on at 5 o'clock, and hopefully Motherwell have done the business.
Right, cheers, guys.
Cheers.